The whole point of game jams is to grow as a developer. You get 2 weeks that you've given to yourself to learn as much as you want to learn. You don't have to submit. You're not going to let me down. You're not going to let yourself down. You're not going to have to do any of this. So what you should do is just do it. Learn some shit and have fun. And it makes all the things that you do in the future better. And you don't have to worry about how many people play your game or what score you get or, if the judges like it or not. What you worry about is, did I build something and can I enjoy building a thing again? That's it. It's fun.
Here recently, I entered the Pirate Software Game Jam number 16, I believe it is. Basically ran through the course of January, and it is now ended. My game has been submitted, and if you would like to play it, I'll leave a link down in the description below, as well as maybe in the first comment. But basically, I just wanted to focus this video on what I've been focusing on here recently. Some of you may know, if you followed the channel for some time now, that I do enjoy game development. I enjoy making games and just learning more about it and trying to push myself in most all respects with it. That being said, I decided entering a game jam would be something beneficial to me. I absolutely hate time trials, but I think oftentimes in life we avoid the things we hate too much, and I think doing the thing that you don't want to do is really good for you. Usually the thing you don't want to do is oftentimes the thing you need to do the most. So that being said, I joined the game jam. Now the game jam was set for a 2-week time period, which, being that I have 2 kids, a wife, and a full-time job on top of trying to do YouTube and, some slight variety, sometimes my time gets cut a little short. Obviously, I still like to be a human, eat food, play some video games that I'm not doing work on, and all that kind of stuff. So 2 weeks to me seemed pretty good, and like I could at least get a small, polished project out. And that was my main goal, to make sure that the game looked and ran smoothly. It didn't have to be anything groundbreaking, it didn't have to be anything too new, just function and operate as it should, right? Now, that being said, what you're seeing here is the game itself. The game is called Weaponized, as the game theme, or the theme for the game jam rather, was weapons, basically. You are the weapon was the main theme. You could be the Doom character, which, basically you are a weapon, you're going through and just slaying tons of monsters. You could do it as your white blood cell fighting off viruses, basically anything that incorporates you as being some kind of attack source, essentially. So, Weaponized, pretty straight to the point as far as it being on the nose for the game theme. And we're gonna go ahead and load it up here. It is kind of tiny. The music may be a little loud, but the background music was made by me personally in FL Studio. It's just a little couple piano notes coupled with some bass drum, snares, and hi-hats. So yeah, the sound effects come from, what is that? Zapsplat.com. It's a pretty good website, especially if you're just looking for some basic sound effects. Make sure you read all of their terms and conditions as far as using them, and make sure you always give them credit. So essentially, whenever you hit the start, you will select your weapon type. We have blunt, sharp, and ranged. We're gonna go ahead and choose sharp, as this is the first class that I sort of worked on. The little bar at the bottom is simply a timer to make sure that you don't click too soon. So you're going to be presented with the tutorial here. Welcome to Weaponized. The objective is simple: buy attachments to improve your weapon, choose your enemy, defeat them at any cost, and continue. These are your current run stats. 1, you can see what day you're on, up here at the top. 2, how much gold you have, down at the bottom. This is the shop. Here you will select which shop you wish to visit. So you have 3 different options here, after which their available attachments will be displayed for you to buy 1. Be warned, attachments cannot be removed once applied. Finally, you will continue to battle. Each enemy will be randomly selected based on your current day. You can hover over your weapon or the enemy's weapon at any time to display the weapon's stats. Good luck! Thank you for playing. Any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. All coding and art was done by me personally. All sound effects come from Zapsplat. The mediocre background music was also made by me personally. Defeat is not the end, merely a new beginning. So you start out and you have your random weapon. We've been given a claymore, which deals 45 damage and has a 4-second cooldown. We also have 100 HP and 35 armor. We don't start with any attachments, and yeah, we're thrown basically straight to the shops. So we can choose to go to a balanced shop, an attack shop, or a defense shop. We're gonna go to attack because it's pretty basic. Now we only have 2 gold, so we may not be able to buy anything. We can in fact buy the rusted blade, which will apply 4 bleed. So if we click on it, we'll have that little coin sound effect. Again, compliments of Zap Splat. We can see in our attachment inventory, we have the rusted blade now. And if we click on the prepare for battle button here, we will fight an innocent flower. We can hover over its weapon, its flower petals. It deals 10 damage on a 3-second cooldown. Oh well, the battle ended too fast. But we were doing, you know, the set 45 damage and applying 4 bleed. So, same thing, we've been given gold. It's a new day, day 2, new shops, and let's go for a balanced shop here. So we can either go minus 20% on cooldown, gain 50 armor at the start, or gain 100 max HP. 20% of 4 is, what, 0.8? Let's go with 100 max HP. And again, our attachment has been added. And we're going to join in and face a rocketing chair. Now the bleed is down here at the bottom. As you can see, it's 4. One bug, obviously, is that the bleed kind of stayed on over the course from last battle to this battle, but that was only a UI. It did not actually maintain the same bleed. The effects in battle happen every 2 seconds, which is never mentioned in the tutorial, something that, you know, maybe in retrospective I should have done. So we did balance, we did attack. Let's do a demonic shop. There's Cronus's Hourglass, which does minus 90% cooldown. So obviously that's probably the one we're going to go with here. Dragonite Shield, gain 200 armor at the start of the fight. And Magic Stone, gain 20 damage per attack. So yeah, minus 90% cooldown reduction sounds pretty good. And you can see now we're attacking incredibly quickly. And so fast, apparently, that the text there didn't get to clear out. But once we hit continue, it should fade away. So, a couple bugs. Like I said, my main goal was for smoothness. Obviously, some bugs still poked through. We do have a settings button up here. If we want to mute all of the sound effects, we can do that as well. Or we can just turn it down so it's not so loud, right? Okay, so this should be our final shop, as there are only really 4 days in the game. So we'll go to a holy shop. We can gain 120 armor at the start of the fight, heal 40 per attack, or heal 80 per attack. I'm gonna go for extra defense. I don't think we'll need it because we are attacking incredibly quickly. And yeah, there we go. We win. Back to the main menu, and you can run through again. Choose a ranged weapon. This time we got a sawn off. Which does come with an attachment already on it. And so basically that's the game. You can continue on and through. If you ever need to skip the shop, you can click the skip button and on into battle. So it is a very short auto battler. And again, and there's those sound effects. This is kind of like a twig breaking. And this is, you know, just a simple shot being fired. So yeah, very simple game. But again, I had 2 weeks to make it. Solo dev, did all the art myself and all the coding and all that good stuff. So essentially I'm making this video as a general recap and overview of how I made the game, and saying, hey, if you want to go play it and rate it, that would be greatly appreciated. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but you know, it kind of did, and that's pretty cool. So generally whenever I'm building a game, this may sound a little weird, I actually start by building out the UI first. The reason being is I like coding because you get to see what's happening when it happens. So I essentially started with this, which was basically, this is what the player will be looking at. This is what will represent the player, health and armor, general little image, and you know, I'll go from there. And so whenever I go into coding, that is the first thing that I code. How to make the little player image appear, and how to make the text appear, and all that kind of stuff. And we can see that I have done a lot of labeling here. I like to keep things readable to me. It doesn't have to be readable to everyone, and I think that goes for everyone's coding. It doesn't have to be understandable for everyone. If you're watching tutorials, don't feel the need to name and label everything exactly as the tutorial goes. Do it what makes sense for you. That way later you can come back and reread it. And again, you'll be able to understand it. So, player handler, basically does exactly what it says. Is going to handle all aspects of the player, the UI stats, and all of the back end. So if we come into the coding, you can see we've got, well, a lot of stuff. And we're not going to worry about what each individual thing does because, again, this isn't a tutorial on how to make this game. It's just a general overview of how I specifically carried along through it. So further down, we have the enemy handler, which essentially does the same thing, but on the opposite side, right? Handles all of their HP, their weapon and damage, and yada yada yada. The entire game is essentially built within one scene. We do have a main menu, the weapon select screen, and then a couple of other scenes. This is the tooltip box, which appears whenever we hover over something. I just needed a very dynamic scene, and so I figured creating one of its own would do well. We have an audio manager scene, which just allows us essentially to play the background music through any scene that we're currently in, because the audio manager scene is globally loaded. So you see here we have audio manager scene. We also have an audio manager script that is globally loaded. And so yeah, just basically working within one scene means whenever I need to change what your option is or what your day is, I essentially just make these individual controls visible, non-visible, interactable, non-interactable, so on and so forth. Usually just triggering visibility is a good way of fully turning something on or off in Godot, because if this is invisible, the button is gone, I cannot click on it, it's not interactable. Hovering my mouse in any direction does not matter. Now, as far as performance goes, is it wise to have every scene constantly loaded? Probably not, and if you were making a larger game, I would definitely say don't do this. But oftentimes I feel like game creators, and I mean content creators of any kind, really any type of creator, tend to allow their scope to get a little too large, and you're like, well, I have to do everything perfect and exact, and I need it to be really large, and yada yada yada. I knew this was a game jam. It didn't have to be perfect, it didn't have to be completely organized, just enough for me to read it, and so doing something like this where I can change from day options to the shop or to the enemy handler and disable the run stats and then continue forth, it kind of made sense to me, and it made it really simple. So basically what we have in the main scene UI is an enum for game stage. This essentially just says what stage of the game are you at. Are you buying an item in the shop? Are you selecting to go into battle? Or are you actually in battle? And then essentially we have a match game stage function that says if you're in battle, set some things to visible, set some things to non-visible, set your player's HP, all that kind of stuff. And then it's going to emit what game stage you're currently at. It'll also emit a signal to start the battle, which if we come into signals here, this is again a global script, so it can be accessed from anywhere, anytime. And you can see here we have battle start, battle over, battle timeout, player HP, all this kind of stuff. Signals are very useful, though one thing I've learned from this project is when handling multiple inputs, I don't think they are the best, nor do they really work well at all. Because here's the thing, if a signal is firing from two places at once, it'll take the first signal, and then it'll take the second signal. But if they're firing at the exact same time, it can only receive one input. Make sense? So in a game like this, where you may be firing a signal on your turn, or at a certain time, and the opponent's weapon may be firing a signal at the exact same time, right? Then only one input is going to be received. So signals are good, but they're not an end-all be-all fix-all like I kind of went into this project thinking, and it's definitely something that I've learned to use when it's needed and not overuse it. I think next time if I was to use a similar system of having multiple things fire at the same time, instead of using a global signal, I would just use a global function and say check the player's HP, receive, input from the function, and I could call the function from any script. And then maybe that would be a better way of sorting it. So yeah, like signals, but don't overuse them. And if you do, just keep in mind that when two fire at the same time, the exact same time, it's only going to receive one logically. It can only take one input, right? Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them down in the comments below, but I wanted this to just basically be a general documentation for me, myself, and for anyone interested in how I made the game and its general effectiveness. I would rate it as like a solid, if I'm being lenient, I'd say a B. If I'm being harsh, I'd say a C. Lenient, I had 2 weeks. Solo dev, a lot of time factors involved. Harsh, you had 2 weeks. There are still bugs. Should have focused more in on the content at hand rather than providing options that the player may never see. What I mean is, here you can see I have 2 enemies at tier 0, 2 enemies at tier 1, 2 enemies at tier 2, and 1 enemy at tier 3. I could have just not made, extra enemies. There could have been 1 enemy at each stage. Sure, it would have been repetitive, but I could have focused in on narrowing out some of these bugs, replaying it, yada yada yada. Similarly, there are actually a lot of weapon options. There are 3 weapon options for each weapon type. So I guess the best way to show it is going to be in assets here. Go to weapon. So the orange, it's kind of hard to see maybe on your screen. The orange is going to be your sharps. So we have a claymore, a katana, and a lumber axe. The green are going to be the blunt. So we have a frying pan, a shield, and a warhammer. And the blues are going to be the ranged. So we have a sniper rifle, slingshot, and a sawn-off. If you only play the game twice, there's no way you're seeing all 9 of these. You know what I mean? So maybe I didn't need to make 9 weapons for the player to use. Maybe I could have just made 3 and that would have been good enough. You choose ranged once, you choose blunt once, you choose sharp once, and you're good to go. So instead of worrying about coding so many and making sure that I had so many unique ideas for weapons, again, I could have focused back in on making sure bugs worked, or there were more attachments, or that there was more effects, right? Because I think the game is kind of dull when it comes to flashiness. There's no shaders, there's no scene changing, fading, any of that kind of stuff. So the game is definitely rough, but it did what I set out to do. It plays, you can play all the way through it, it has replayability, it has variance in the runs, and it is an auto battler. So as far as pass-fail goes, I'd definitely say it was a pass. I learned a lot from it, especially on my approach in future video games and future game jams in general. I think I probably will do more game jams in the future. This was really fun, and again, it taught me a lot in a little amount of time, which I think is kind of the purpose of a game jam. It's basically a hyperbolic time chamber for game devs, right? And I really enjoy doing solo dev, but something about doing a game jam kind of makes me want to join a group. So if at any point in the future you're looking at doing a game jam and you're interested in joining up, perhaps join the Discord. I'm very quiet in there. Again, my time is certainly spread thin as is, but we're going to try and get this video out and more videos dealing with this kind of stuff in the future, because again, this is my current focus. Generally here on the channel, y'all know I just kind of put out videos on whatever I am currently doing, and that's going to continue on into the future. So with that being said, thanks everybody for watching. Again, if you want to play the game, there will be a link down below. Subscribe if you're new here and you enjoyed the content, like if you enjoyed the video. Thank you to Pirate Software for hosting the game jam. Good luck to everyone that joined. Hopefully we can win, or at least strike somewhere above the 50% line. I think there was something around like 1,700 games that were entered, so if I could, have my game in the top 800, I would be pretty happy and proud of myself. Thanks again, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe, share it out. As per the usual, I do hope you all stay awesome, stay safe, and stay crafting, whatever that may be, whether it's in a video game or crafting on a video game or any other artistic outlet you may have. Thanks again. Take care. And until next time, peace.